There has been some last-minute rush to finalize the ministerial names as the government gears up to expand the cabinet. Now, even as a consensus was reached on the number of ministerial berths among the coalition partners, some delay, according to sources, lingers due to the inability on behalf of the parties to pick the names among the aspirants. Good evening, I am Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. Cabinet expansion hits snag as ruling partners continue to stake claim for influential ministries. Premier Dahal faces challenge to quell all demands. The trend of migration from rural places to urban areas on the rise. 66% of the population flocked to urban cities as villages were a deserted look. The government finally starts legwork for labor agreement with Saudi Arabia, one of the major labor destinations, with around 400 Nepali migrant workers already stationed there. An armed police force women clinch a hat-trick of wins at Lalitpur Mayor's Cup Championship. APF crushed Kosi province by 54 runs. Sitaram Magar judged the player of the tournament. Prime Minister Pushpa Dahal failed to expand the Council of Ministers as the ruling coalition failed to reach a consensus on the share of ministerial portfolios. Parties of the alliance have been making efforts to lead powerful ministries. And despite agreement among the coalition partners regarding the number of ministries, the Council of Ministers was not expanded today, as well as parties have yet to reach a consensus on allocation of portfolios. Prime Minister Pushpa Dahal is in favor of giving a full shape to the government at the earliest. However, some challenges continue to exist as parties are firm in their stance for certain portfolios. Two separate meetings of the alliance held early in the morning and later in the day failed to generate a much sought-after consensus. Prime Minister Dahal has been holding separate talks with senior leaders of the coalition partners. However, agreement has remained elusive, especially between Nepali Congress, CPN Maoist Center, Janata Samajwadi Party and CPN Unified Socialist regarding the portfolios. In yesterday's meeting, the alliance had reached an agreement to allocate 8 ministries for Nepali Congress, 5 for CPN Maoist Center, 2 each for CPN Unified Socialist and Janata Samajwadi, 1 each for Loktantrik Samajwadi and Nepal Samajwadi Party, while also including Aam Janata and Nagarik Unmukti Party. However, Nagarik Unmukti Party Chair Ranjita Shrestha has said that the party will not join the government until its demands are addressed. Now, Prime Minister Pushpa Dahal has not been able to give a full shape to the Council of Ministers even after 3 months since assuming the office. Dahal, who twice cleared the vote of confidence, has taken all this time to ensure a sound political equation. In addition to addressing the political crisis of the country, Prime Minister Dahal faces serious economic challenges. Most of the national economic indicators are currently negative as the government finds itself struggling to fund the current expenditure. In such a scenario, it is the responsibility of the government to identify a correct economic path through the budget of the upcoming fiscal year. The Ministry of Finance has begun works for the draft of the budget. However, with no leadership at ministries for a long time, officials are in a state of dilemma regarding the requirements of the government. In addition to economic challenges, Prime Minister Dahal also faces the complications in the alliance as the 10 parties have contrasting ideologies and principles. The alliance partners are divided on issues including citizenship, civil service and transitional justice. In another case, the House of Representatives is operating on the basis of zero and special hours as the government has failed in assigning business to the parliament. Opposition CPN-UML is miffed with Prime Minister Dahal as he cornered them to form the new alliance. Having begun criticizing the Prime Minister, UML is not likely to exhibit any sympathy to him in days ahead. As 3 months have already gone by since Prime Minister Dahal assumed power, questions have begun surfacing about when he would begin prioritizing issues of public concern. Victims of loan sharks have shared their demands, including the formation of laws for the return of properties seized by the loan sharks. The Struggle Committee of Loan Shark Victims submitted a 9-point demand to the government earlier today. Their demands include formation of a high-level commission, scrapping of thumb suk or traditional written agreement, formation of laws in favor of the victims, and return of properties seized by loan sharks. In the first round of talks, the victims have presented their demands, while the government has informed about the actions taken to curb crimes related to loan sharks. The government had formed a 5-member committee for dialogue with the victims, which is being led by Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs, Rudra Devi Sharma, 3 days ago. While another round of talk was slated in the evening, the victims asked for additional time for discussion, after which the next round was slated for tomorrow morning. The victims, who have arrived in Kathmandu after walking for 11 days all the way from Bardivas in Province 2, are firm in their stance of not returning home until their demands are addressed. Nepali Congress has decided to field Jeet Narayan Shrestha from Chitwan 2 and Govinda Bhattrai from Tanhau 1 for the upcoming by-election. The meeting of the Central Work Executing Committee held at the party office in Sanepa finalized the candidates from the two constituencies. Meanwhile, the party is yet to propose a candidate from Bara 2. The by-election is scheduled to be held for the 3 vacant positions in the parliament on the 23rd of April. Likewise, discussions were held regarding leaders to be included in the cabinet. However, the meeting failed to reach a consensus. Meanwhile, in a different context, the meeting urged the government to take initiatives to address the plight of the victims of loan sharks. Economist Samyam has quit Nepali Congress, alleging of extreme nepotism in the party. He has also identified the need for creation of an alternative political force involving the well-wishers of the country to ensure national development. In a social media post, Wagle has expressed his frustrations about the failures of Nepali Congress in retaining the image of the party, which he said was built by leaders including BP Koirala, Ganeshman Singh, Suvarna Samachar and Krishna Prasad Vatrai. Wagle is understood to have written to 4 Congress leaders before taking it to the social media to make the announcement. Wagle had served at the National Planning Commission during the terms of late Sushil Koirala and Sherbhadri Dewa. He was the vice chair of the entity between August 17 and February 2018. Wagle reportedly has joined hands with Rashtriya Swatantra Party as he is contesting the by-election from Tanhau Electoral Constituency 1. CPN-UML chairperson KP Sharma Oli has urged Prime Minister Pushpa Dahal to raise the issue of border encroachment during his upcoming India visit. Addressing a program held in Kathmandu today, UML Chair Oli suggested that Prime Minister Dahal should raise the issue of border safety during his India visit. Terming the armed movement of the Maoists an act of violence, Oli also recommended the government not to observe issues of the insurgency era as national achievement. He went on to say that such acts would create complications in concluding the peace process. He also expressed concern regarding the rush in the preparation of the bills related to transitional justice. The recent census has shown that migration from villages and rural region to urban areas has increased at an alarming rate. Villages have started wearing a deserted look while population density has increased in the cities. In the meantime, urban population has reached more than 66%. However, all the 3 tiers of the government have not appeared serious towards this issue. Based on the latest census, population of municipalities has reached 66.17%, while population of rural regions stands at 33.83%. Most of the residents of mountainous and hilly districts, Dolpa, Songkhla and Terathum, have migrated to Tarai districts including Morang, Chapa, Sunsari and Rupandehi. The trend of migration has increased because of reasons including natural disasters, scarcity of basic services and problems created by factors including animals. It is understandable that uncontrolled migration creates an impact on uneven distribution of population and development plans. Despite receiving aid and implementing programs, districts with reduced populations have not been able to curb migration. Nobody wants to leave their home, but situations creates the need for migration. Lack of facilities for education, health and employment opportunities compel people to migrate to other places. The trend of families funded by remittance moving to areas with better facilities has also increased. Experts are of the opinion that the federal, provincial and local governments have not been able to create a conducive environment for people to stay at their own place. Now, in our Public Voice segment, today we have asked the local residents of hilly districts regarding the reason for migration from their villages to urban places. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
हतोत्साहित भएर अब गाउँमा खेती गरेर काम छैन भनेर सबै जग्गा बाँझो भइसक्यो
रोजगार छैन अब केही गरेरै खान पर्यो अनि के गर्नु खै अब
घर जग्गा केही बाढी पहिरोले सबै लगिसकेपछि अब गरी खाने ठाउँै छैन
गाउँमा उत्पादन गरेको बजार राम्रोसित पाइरहेको अवस्था छैन
जुन गुणस्तरीय शिक्षा र गुणस्तरीय स्वास्थ्यमा त्यति ध्यान गएको र त्यति सुधार नभएको हुनाले
छोराछोरी पढाउनलाई राम्रो कलेज छैन विकास छैन
यसरी उपचारलाई
त्यस्ता अस्पतालहरू छैनन् उपचार गर्नलाई कठिन हुन्छ
अहिलेको समयमा सुविधा चाहिएको छ अब गाउँमा चाहिँ सुविधा छैन शहरमा सुविधा छ
गाउँमा गर्ने कामहरू केही छैन त्यसकारण विदेश शहरमा मात्र नभए विदेशको शहरमा बस्न
It is now time for a short break. The government has begun preparations for a labor agreement with Saudi Arabia. According to the Ministry of Labour, Employment and Social Security, draft of the agreement has already been shared between the two countries. Nepal has made preparations to raise issues including human rights of Nepali workers, recruitment at zero cost and equal pay. According to the Ministry of Labour, more than 400,000 Nepali migrant workers are currently employed in Saudi Arabia. Even as the Nepalese embassy has been operating in Saudi Arabia for the past 45 years, a labor agreement has not been signed yet. Along with Saudi Arabia, the government has also made preparations to renew agreements with Qatar, the United Arab Emirates and Kuwait, among other countries. Many Nepali migrant workers employed in Gulf countries have been denied facilities ensured by laws in absence of worker-friendly labor agreements. This year's secondary education examination SEE begins from tomorrow. The National Examination Board has said that all the preparations for the SEE, once considered the iron gates of education, have been completed. A total of 485,396 students are to attend the SEE, which begins tomorrow from 8 a.m. A total of 2,037 examination centers have been allocated for the exams. The National Examination Board has said that question papers and answer sheets have been taken to all exam centers. The highest number of students attending the SEE are from Bagmati, where 102,000 students will reach 434 centers. Meanwhile, the lowest number of students are from Karnali province at 38,608 students who will attend the exam at 179 centers. The SEE concludes on the 12th of April. Raswagadi-Kerung border point, which links Nepal and China, is to resume full operation from Saturday. Meanwhile, the Tatopani border point is scheduled to resume full operation from the 1st of May. An agreement for full operation of the two border points was reached at yesterday's meeting of the Nepal-China Coordination Mechanism on Border Trade and Cooperation in Lhasa. China has agreed to resume human movement along the border for the first time since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. Industrialists and business persons had been making appeals with the government for resumption of the border points. It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Poll.
Before we ask today's question, let us take a look at the result from yesterday's poll. Yesterday we asked, why are lecturers required to clear examination to be eligible for teaching at universities? 63% were for A, to improve quality of education, 13% were for B, to ensure transparency in appointments, and 24% were for C, unnecessary complication. And here is our today's question. What is your take on the transfer of employees without following regular criteria? Your options are A, political interference, B, interest of employees, and C, financial gains. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for the international news. Russia's Nobel Peace Prize winning journalist Dmitry Muratov has warned of possibility of nuclear war due to the ongoing unrest created by Russian invasion of Ukraine. Dmitry Muratov was speaking during an interview where he warned of Russia's upcoming strategies to win war against Ukraine. Russia has been threatening of waging nuclear attack against Ukraine ever since its war on Ukraine began last February. Russian President Vladimir Putin had spoken of stationing nuclear plant in Belarus, its ally in the war against Ukraine. In the course of the interview, Muratov spoke of Russian military activities, which gave room to his suspicion of nuclear attack. Muratov was jointly awarded Nobel Peace Prize along with Filipino journalist Maria Ressa for the year 2021. However, in the wake of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Muratov sought the Nobel Peace Prize in exchange for money for the welfare of Ukrainian children. We have more news coming up. Welcome back. It is now time for the sports news.
Sports news.
Now, Armed Police Force Club have lifted the Lalitpur Mayor's Women Championship for the third successive season. In the final play today, APF secured a 54-run win over Kosi Province as skipper Sita Rana Magar and Indu Varma scored half-centuries each. In the match played at the Tribhuvan University Cricket Grounds in Kantipur, Koshi won the toss as they put APF to bat. APF made most of a weak Koshi bowling attack as they posted 154 runs for the loss of a single wicket in the allotted 20 overs. It was the biggest total of the Lalitpur Mayor's championship. Sitarana Magar and Indu Verma added 136 runs for the second wicket partnership, which is the record highest partnership of the tournament. Prior to this, Suman Khatiwada and Ashmina Karmacharya of Lalitpur 11 had featured in a 108-run partnership during the first edition of the tournament. Sita scored 68 runs from 79 balls with 9 fours and 2 sixes, while Indu contributed 51 runs from 41 deliveries with 5 fours and a maximum. In reply, Koshi were restricted for 101 runs for the loss of 6 wickets in 20 overs. Skipper Ruvina Chetri top scored with 35 for Koshi, while Lakita Rajbanshi contributed 21 runs. Binu Buda picked 2 wickets, while Rekha Rawal, Sonu Khadka and Niri Thapa shared a wicket each as APF lifted their third Lalitpur Mayor's Cup in consecutive seasons. Winners APF received 200,000 rupees in cash prize along with the winner's trophy, while runners-up Koshi were given away 100,000 rupees. Nepal take on Laos in the grand finale of the Prime Minister Three Nations Cup tournament tomorrow. Addressing the pre-match press conference, Nepal coach Vincenzo Alberto Anis said that Team Nepal are prepared for the tournament decider. Nepal's new coach Anis has been facing criticisms because of poor performances against teams ranked lower than Nepal. Having secured a 2-0 win against 187th ranked Laos in the first match, Nepal were held to a 1-1 draw by Bhutan in their second match. However, coach Anis has claimed that the standard of Nepal's performance has been gradually improving. Nepal captain and custodian Kiran Chemjong has said that the final would be significant in boosting the morale of the team and the players. Meanwhile, Laos coach Hans Michael Wies has shared his plans of stunning the hosts. He said that it would be difficult to play in front of the home crowd, but expressed confidence on his team. The final tomorrow, which will be played at the Dashrath Stadium, is scheduled for a 5:30 p.m. kickoff Nepal time. Up next is the weather update. That is all for the moment. Up next is the news in Nepali. Thank you for staying with us. Goodbye for now.